Just lastly, you mentioned wanting the undisputed belt after this. A lot of questions about Conor McGregor and defending the title against him after this. How real do you think that could be? And I assume if you were to fight Conor, it would have to be at 170. So was that appeal to you as well?
Você falou sobre lutar pelo cinturão, os leves depois, você já comentou sobre isso, mas também fala-se de Conor McGregor, sempre ficou essa coisa no ar de você lutar contra o Conor. O quão real é você lutar contra o Conor, que talvez quisesse esse cinturão BMF e que teria que ser nos meio médios? Como é que você se sente em relação a lutar contra o Conor?
Cara, na realidade, sendo bem verdadeiro, mais uma vez, a vontade de lutar pelo Conor é pelo dinheiro. Simplesmente isso.
Being truthful, I've always been, and I will again, to fight Conor, it would be for the money. That's it. Simply that.
And the only thing that Conor has ever sold, and by sell, I mean the only thing that he's presented that he has that he doesn't, is power. Very smart. In this industry,
You want to know something strange? This guy isn't here just to prove he has potential, and the moment you realize that, the entire situation around the White House fight card starts to feel different. The event itself keeps getting bigger by the hour, stacking massive names from every direction, and the energy building behind it is starting to feel almost unreal. But something else is happening beneath the surface. Right now there's a former champion, a dangerous one, only days away from stepping into the octagon for a scheduled war against Max Holloway. Most fighters would be locked in, focused on the man standing across from them. Not this one. Somehow, unbelievably, his mind is already drifting past that fight, completely past it. And when people started asking questions, the answer pointed somewhere no one expected, straight toward one of the most legendary and unpredictable figures in combat sports history, Conor McGregor, the biggest draw the sport has ever produced, the name that can flip an entire event upside down with a single announcement. Now here's where things get even more chaotic. Fighters from every corner of the roster have been lining up, throwing out challenges, desperate for a chance to share the spotlight with McGregor at this historic event. Trash talk is flying everywhere, call-outs echoing across interviews and social media, everyone trying to grab the moment first. But then another name suddenly entered the conversation, and it caught people off guard. Oliveira. And he didn't sneak in quietly either. No hesitation, no waiting. He stepped forward and made one thing crystal clear. He wants that fight, and now everyone is listening.
Conor's made it pretty open that he'll fight anybody, but I need you to be aware that that is one of the tactics and one of the things within this game. And I do wonder that. I wonder that with Jon Jones as well. Because some of these guys that we don't see fighting 3 times a year, they contractually have to be offered that, and I believe are. And I just wish I had that information. I would be very curious. Who were you offered? When were you offered him? And why did you turn it down? I would just be curious to that. So when Conor says I'm going to fight at the White House or in the... Okay, that means he's not fighting the White House. Now that's old news. I brought that to you months ago that Conor's not on the White House card. But him revealing this himself and saying I'm fighting on the White House or in the summer or somewhere thereabouts.
But here's where the story takes another unexpected turn, the kind that makes people stop and start connecting dots they didn't even notice before. Even the man he's supposed to be completely locked in on right now, the opponent standing directly in his path, Max Holloway, has been saying things that add another strange layer to the entire situation. Holloway hasn't been quiet about a certain chapter from his past that still lingers in the back of his mind. In fact, he's been surprisingly open about a specific moment in his career that he would jump at the chance to revisit if the opportunity ever appeared again. The former featherweight champion, a fighter who has tested himself against the very best and proven he belongs at the top over and over again, recently revealed something that caught a lot of people's attention. For him, a rematch with Conor McGregor isn't just another big fight. To Holloway, it represents the perfect chance to reopen unfinished business that has been quietly sitting there for years. He made it absolutely clear that the idea of facing opponents who once defeated him is something that genuinely fuels him. It lights a fire in him that ordinary fights simply cannot create. But here's the detail that makes his mindset even more fascinating. For Holloway, this isn't really about revenge, and it's not simply about correcting a mark on his record. The motivation runs much deeper than that. What he truly wants is something far more powerful. He wants the world to witness the difference. He wants fans, critics, and even himself to see just how much he has changed, evolved, and transformed as a fighter since that first meeting. And that's the real reason this possibility refuses to fade.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. And sometimes I feel silly asking you about Conor McGregor, but he is right there. He is, you're still in the title picture, so why would you be thinking about Conor McGregor? But it would be a really fun fight. I know you've wanted it in the past, so
Yeah, it'd be a fun fight. I mean, getting one back against everybody who got one over me would be awesome. So, yeah.
And you know what makes this whole situation even crazier? The whispers around McGregor's name aren't just coming from Holloway and Charles anymore, because another extremely dangerous contender has suddenly stepped forward, and his reason for doing it might be the most intriguing of all. This fighter has been quietly looking back at his career, examining every war, every opponent, every moment inside that octagon, and something about the list doesn't sit right with him. There's a gap in it, a massive one. Justin Gaethje recently pointed out something that becomes more fascinating the longer you think about it. Over the years, he has walked into the octagon with some of the most feared names the sport has ever produced, standing toe-to-toe with champions, destroyers, and fighters who built entire legacies on violence. Night after night, he has tested himself against the absolute elite. But somehow, through all the chaos and all the battles, one name never appeared across from him: Conor McGregor. And once that realization settles in, it's hard to ignore. For Gaethje, that missing fight now stands out like a glaring unfinished chapter in an otherwise brutal and legendary run. It's the one matchup that continues to circle back into his mind whenever people ask about the future. He doesn't hesitate when it comes up either. He says it plainly, almost like it's inevitable. Before his career closes, before the final walk away from the sport, that's the fight he still wants to make happen. In a strange way, the idea of it almost follows him, not like a burden, but like a challenge waiting patiently for the moment it finally becomes real.
Dude, I fought only legends.
Yeah.
Who could that, I mean,
anyone get
McGregor,
away?
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, outside that, there's really nobody else I could ask for that I haven't fought.
As all this speculation keeps building, tightening like a pressure cooker that feels seconds away from exploding, Conor McGregor himself has quietly stepped in and made the entire situation even more unpredictable, almost like he enjoys watching the chaos grow. Instead of shutting down the rumors, he's done the exact opposite, dropping just enough hints to keep everyone guessing about what his next move might actually be. According to Chael Sonnen, who has been closely watching everything happening behind the scenes, McGregor has repeatedly been telling people that he plans to fight this summer, a statement that immediately sent waves of excitement through the entire MMA world. Fans heard it and instantly began connecting dots, imagining matchups, building theories. But here's where things get strange again. Beyond that bold promise, there still isn't a single confirmed opponent, no official destination, nothing locked in that people can point to and say, that's the fight. Sonnen put it in a very blunt way when he explained the real situation. He said if Conor was to pop up on it, right there would be meaningful for whatever that was. And when you really think about it, that sentence carries enormous weight, because Sonnen also pointed out something many people overlook while chasing the rumors. McGregor's greatest power right now isn't just his skills or his past titles. It's the fact that he's still under contract with a major promotion. A superstar of that magnitude doesn't need much more than his name. The moment it gets attached to an event, a card, or even a rumor, the entire landscape instantly changes. Until something official appears, contracts signed, and press conferences announced, the mystery surrounding McGregor's next move will keep the entire fight world watching, waiting, and constantly refreshing their feeds.
Saying, look, I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight this summer. And he's making it clear that he doesn't know. I mean, he's dropping the veil. I don't know if it's the White House or this summer or somewhere thereabouts, which is a very real way of saying, I got nothing. I got nothing booked. I have no clarity. And I do often wonder, and I wish I had access to this information, but so you guys understand, like from a political side, one of the great values of Conor McGregor and keeping Conor is to keep him from going somewhere else. And there's very few guys that are, but Conor is a star. If Conor was to pop up on, you fill in the blank, but if Conor was to pop up on, it right there would be meaningful for whatever that was. So one of the great values in Conor is to keep him. If he's going to offer the only monetizable commodity that a fighter has, which is the fight, the performance itself,
Then Chael Sonnen decided to peel back the curtain on what might actually be happening behind Conor McGregor's latest comments, and the moment he started explaining it, the entire story suddenly took on a completely different tone. This is where things stop looking like simple fight talk and start looking a lot more like a carefully calculated strategy. According to Sonnen, McGregor might sound like he's ready to fight anyone, anywhere, anytime, but the reality behind those words is far more complex than most fans realize. It's not just confidence or excitement driving those statements. There's a deeper game being played. Sonnen pointed out out that all the talk about the White House card or a massive summer return sounds incredible on the surface, but none of it actually confirms that a fight is booked, signed, or even close to finalized. In fact, those conversations can exist for a long time without anything official ever materializing, and that's where the business side of the sport quietly takes over. Fighters at McGregor's level, especially someone who has grown beyond the sport itself, are often protected and managed differently because they represent something much bigger than just one matchup. Their contracts usually require that opportunities are presented to them, offers that keep the machine moving. But keeping McGregor connected to a promotion isn't only about the next opponent. It's about managing one of the biggest assets the sport has ever seen. The end result of all this positioning, hinting, and negotiating creates something powerful, a perfect storm of hype mixed with uncertainty, leaving the entire fight world restless, debating possibilities while McGregor calmly repeats one simple message: he'll fight anyone who truly makes sense.
I need you to be aware that that is one of the tactics and one of the things within this game. And I do wonder that. I wonder that with John Jones as well. You know, some of these guys that we don't see fighting 3 times a year, they contractually have to be offered that, and I believe are. And I just wish I had that information. I would be very curious. Who were you offered? When were you offered him? And why did you turn it down? I would just be curious to that. So when Conor says I'm going to fight at the White House or in the... Okay, that means he's not fighting the White House. Now that's old news. I brought that to you months ago that Conor's not on the White House card. But him revealing this himself and saying I'm fighting on the White House or in the summer or somewhere thereabouts.
On the complete other side of the story, while all the noise around McGregor continues to swirl, there's another storm quietly building as the BMF fight rapidly approaches and the spotlight slowly shifts toward that belt again. And when people start talking about it now, the conversation sounds very different from how it once did. I remember when the BMF title first appeared, and back then a lot of hardcore fans and analysts didn't treat it with much respect at all. To many of them it felt like a novelty, something flashy designed more for headlines than history, just another marketing idea dropped into an already crowded division. But something unexpected has happened since those early days, and Charles Oliveira sees that shift very clearly. In fact, he views the entire belt through a completely different lens now, especially after watching what Max Holloway has done with it. Holloway didn't just win the belt and move on. He carried it in a way that slowly changed the perception around it, performing at an incredible level and backing the title with real fights, real moments, and real intensity. Oliveira believes that every fighter who has held that belt has quietly added another piece to its story, another layer to its identity, shaping the legacy step by step. But when he talks about Holloway, there's a noticeable emphasis in his voice, because in Oliveira's mind, Holloway's run with that belt gave it something it never truly had before: weight, credibility, meaning. What once looked like a simple gimmick has gradually transformed into something fighters now genuinely want to capture, defend, and attach to their own legacy.
When the belt was first introduced, sometimes people sort of spoke down on it, and now there's this idea that Max Holloway has turned this belt into something important. Do you agree that Max has turned this belt into something that fighters should want to take, or is it just, hey, a belt is a belt?
Cara, eu acho que cada teve a sua importância. Quando começou, como foi, na forma que foi. Agora o Max vindo fazendo a história dele. Eu acho que cada teve um ponto, uma chave para poder fazer cada vez mais valer esse cinturão.
I think each and every fighter that actually has held it has had its importance and giving it its importance. I think that they've had their ways, and now Max has found a way to give it even more importance to a belt.
Oliveira then opened up in a surprisingly genuine moment about what it has been like sharing the training room with the legendary Demian Maia, and the way he described it made it sound like something far more meaningful than a typical camp partnership. For him, the experience isn't just another chapter of preparation before a fight. It's something that feels almost rare, the kind of opportunity fighters don't get very often in their careers. Oliveira explained that working alongside Maia has been absolutely incredible, the kind of experience he believes he will carry with him long after this upcoming fight is finished. When he talks about Maia, the respect in his voice becomes impossible to miss. He praised the veteran's complete mastery of mixed martial arts, pointing out how sharp and technical Maia remains on the feet, where every strike seems calculated, controlled, and precise. But that's only half of it. On the ground, Oliveira described Maia as operating on a completely different level, a grappler whose understanding of control, pressure, and positioning comes from decades of competing at the very highest level of the sport. And then there's the part Oliveira seems to admire the most: Maia's fight IQ. Years of experience have sharpened his instincts in ways that can't be easily taught. According to Oliveira, the training sessions themselves have been intense, focused, and incredibly demanding, the kind of work where every minute matters. Having a mentor of Maia's caliber inside the camp doesn't just improve technique, it strengthens strategy, builds confidence, and forces every detail of preparation to reach a higher level. For Oliveira, it's a collaboration he says he feels genuinely grateful for.
Another question. You posted working with Demian Maia Obviously, you're both so well known for your submissions. Can you just talk a little bit about what it's like when two great jiu-jitsu minds like you two work together?
Cara, com certeza, 100%. Lembrando para todo mundo, a gente não tá fazendo jiu-jitsu, tá assim MMA. Demian é um cara gigante, um cara que tem uma história linda dentro do UFC, né? É um cara que tanto em pé como no chão é muito bom, sabe, tem a mentalidade, sabe fazer. Então a gente treinamos, se dedicamos. É muito bom ter um cara ali que pode te ajudar, pode falar coisas boas para ti. Então eu sou muito grato por Demian ter pelo segundo campeonato junto com a gente.
This is huge, and I just want to remind everybody, this is not jiu-jitsu, we're actually doing MMA, so it's important to have somebody like him that it's just, obviously, we put the work together, we got together, we made it happen, we dedicate ourselves to this, it's so good to actually have somebody to, saying positive things, just kind of pulling you up and helping you out. So it was pretty cool to have him in his second.
After sharpening his skills alongside legends like Demian Maia and pushing his game into deeper territory, Charles Oliveira is now shifting every ounce of focus toward what could become the most defining challenge of his career, a high-stakes collision with Max Holloway for the BMF title. The stakes are enormous, and Holloway isn't pretending otherwise. In fact, he openly acknowledges Oliveira's danger, calling him a true BMF in his own right while completely shutting down the lazy narrative that this matchup is nothing more than a simple striker versus grappler clash. Holloway insists the reality is far more complicated and far more dangerous. He points out something casual fans often overlook. Many of Oliveira's most jaw-dropping submission victories don't begin on the ground at all. They begin with damage. Brutal striking exchanges where Oliveira batters opponents on the feet, slowly breaking them down before suddenly switching gears and hunting the finish. That combination of raw striking threat and elite submission instincts makes him incredibly unpredictable, a fighter who can end the night anywhere the fight travels. With both men carrying explosive offense and world-class skills, the matchup already feels like one of the most violent and thrilling BMF title fights imaginable, the kind that lingers in conversations for years. But there's another layer driving Holloway. Their first meeting never sat right with him. Yes, it exists in the record books, stamped into the statistics forever, yet Holloway has always felt something about it remained unfinished, like a story cut off before the final chapter. Fans sensed it too. Now the rematch is official, the date locked in, and Holloway sounds more energized than ever to finally close the chapter properly. Redemption is part of the fire, but the deeper motivation runs beyond that. He wants to prove, once and for all, that he belongs among the absolute elite of the division. And strangely enough, even outside the cage his influence keeps growing. His famous finger point down moment has exploded into pop culture, copied and repeated across the world, sometimes losing its original spirit along the way. Yet Holloway doesn't seem bothered. To him, that gesture has grown bigger than a single fight, inspiring fans everywhere, from hardcore followers to someone across the globe who only discovered him through that viral moment. For Holloway, it's proof that certain moments escape the cage and become something much larger, and if others try to capture that same lightning, that's their challenge to solve.
The finger point down, right, has taken on a life of its own. I feel like you always did that because, let's be honest, you're one of the coolest guys on the roster and it's a very cool thing to do. And now we're seeing other guys do it and it's not that cool. It's actually kind of shit when they do it. Do you feel like, hey, maybe I'm going to have to retire this thing because other guys are jacking my style and making it bad?
I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. We can't take it back. And if they're just gonna keep, in your words, butchering it, I mean, that's on them. I think that moment transcended the sport, and it was amazing. I was saying in an interview, I saw someone with my shirt on. And I was like, oh, sick shirt. And being like, oh man, they're losing their mind was me. But then they was like telling me, I'm not even an MMA fan. I saw this clip and then I saw your shirt at Pakistan. That's why I bought it. So that's how cool that moment was, And if guys are looking for that type of moment and that type of feeling,
Charles Oliveira opened up in a genuinely reflective way about training alongside the legendary Demian Maia and how the experience has added real depth to his fight preparation, describing it as one of the most valuable learning opportunities of his career and something he will carry with him long after this camp ends. He praised Maia's mastery across every facet of mixed martial arts, emphasizing the precision of his striking, the world-class control and technical brilliance of his grappling, and the sharp fight IQ that comes only from decades of competing at the highest level. According to Oliveira, the sessions were intense and laser-focused, demanding full commitment and leaving no room for complacency, which in turn elevated his own approach to strategy and technique while strengthening his mental confidence heading into the next challenge. He spoke about the collaboration with a deep sense of gratitude, and anyone listening could hear the respect in his tone when discussing what Maia brings to the camp, not just as a coach but as a veteran whose insights help refine every detail of preparation.
Charles did that Q&A with a bunch of Brazilian fans. and he said that for the point down, he has the option to stand and bang with you because he knows he can do that. But you don't have the option to take him down based on his skill set. You've also said it would be pretty BMF to submit the guy with the most submissions in the UFC. Are people overlooking your submission skills in the octagon?
I mean, it is what it is, you know. Like I didn't get to show too much of my submission skills in the octagon anyway, but that would be pretty BMF, right? That'd be pretty BMF to go get it, submit the submission artist. That'd be amazing. But you know, Charles can say whatever he wants. He can say whatever. I can say whatever I want. Come Saturday night, we get to find out.
On the other hand, when you look at the situation from a completely different angle, Tom Aspinall is practically sounding an alarm before UFC 326 even arrives, delivering a warning that feels less like casual commentary and more like a message Oliveira needs to hear before the cage door finally shuts. Aspinall's focus is very specific, and it all traces back to a moment that still has the entire fight world talking. Those absolutely chaotic final seconds from Max Holloway's last fight. The kind of moment that seemed impossible while it was unfolding. Everyone remembers it. The wild exchange, the crowd erupting, and then the shocking finish that left Justin Gaethje sprawled on the canvas in Las Vegas, staring up at the lights while the arena exploded. It's a clip that has been replayed millions of times, spreading across the internet like a piece of modern fight folklore. But Aspinall isn't looking at that moment the way most fans do. To him, it's a warning sign. He believes Oliveira cannot allow himself to get dragged into that kind of last-second chaos, not when so much is riding on this fight. In Aspinall's view, Oliveira has worked too long and too hard to risk everything in a reckless 10-second storm that could flip the entire outcome in an instant. It's essentially one professional fighter speaking directly to another, a reminder before that cage locks them in and the outside world disappears. Because at the highest level of this sport, every second carries weight, every decision matters, and sometimes one tiny mistake is all it takes to change everything forever, even wiping away the path toward a future showdown with Conor McGregor.
No, we don't want to see the last 10-second madness from Oliveira. Obviously I'm a big fan of both guys. I think if you're involved in MMA and you like it and you like watching it and you're a fan of the sport, you can't not be a fan of these guys. These guys are both very good. I would rather, after seeing what happened to poor Justin Gaethje when we were there live in Vegas, nobody else should have to suffer the same fate, especially.
It's definitely an interesting call for Charles Oliveira to target Conor McGregor as a potential next opponent, but whether it actually happens depends on a lot more than just fighter interest. From a competitive standpoint, Oliveira absolutely has the skills to give McGregor serious problems. His submission game is world-class, and as we've seen in multiple fights, he can hurt opponents on the feet before transitioning into finishes. If he can drag McGregor into grappling exchanges and avoid getting caught early in a pure striking battle, he would present a massive threat. However, McGregor's precision striking and ability to end fights quickly also can't be ignored. The matchup would come down to which fighter imposes their game plan first. Oliveira would need to close distance safely, survive the opening exchanges, and capitalize on any openings. McGregor would need to keep the fight standing and use his timing and accuracy to prevent Oliveira from implementing his submission threats. As for predictions, it really depends on timing and preparation. McGregor returning after time away introduces questions about ring rust, while Oliveira's momentum and experience could work in his favor. It's not an impossible fight for either man, but it's certainly one that would capture massive attention and test both competitors in different ways. Ultimately, whether Oliveira can come out on top would depend on execution under pressure and how the styles interact on fight night. Now I want to hear your take. Do you think this matchup should happen, and who do you believe would win?